Russos brand family. We are family.
Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, whether you're driving a Pinto or driving a Mercedes, I'm too hot to trot, I'm too cold to hold, but I must admit I'm too legit to quit. And we must accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest edition of Inspired with Christopher. With this week, we'll be diving into a subject like a lot of us we could think about, and like a lot of things we can examine in our lives to help us, and that is to let it go. My daughter, she inspired me for the subject actually, because the other day we were at the park and we were just sitting there and she was singing the song from Frozen, Let It Go, right? So, for those that don't know what it is, like the song Let It Go is from the movie, the extremely popular Disney movie called Frozen. Back in 2009, I believe that's when it came out. If I'm wrong, who cares? Anyways, it goes, let it go, turn away and slam the door, here I am. Okay, anyways, just thinking about that song, just thinking about that movie, as crazy as it sounds, between that and my daughter, it really, really got me thinking, okay, what are some things in my life that I struggle with letting go with? What are some things that you guys struggle with, like with letting go? And that's why, like, I'm grateful that I have this forum. So, with that said, we are going to work on letting go and letting God take over, and recognizing that whenever we do that, God's going to take us to places that we could never imagine us going otherwise. Because, like, the God honest truth is, God, He can open up doors beyond our wildest imaginations to help us and to benefit us and to ultimately make our lives better and to make the lives better of the ones that are around us. So, I mean, it's just crazy how things work like that. And, which I just want to let you guys know, there are some things that I've been looking up that I want to share with you. And there's things, here are some examples of people, reasons why people have struggle with letting things go. And that is, the fact that you can't control people's actions or words, which I know, like, for me personally, I struggle with that because, let's be honest here, it's human nature where we want to shape or mold people into what we want. That way, like, the God honest truth is, that way, like, we're not as annoyed with them, and that way we can get along with them better. But it doesn't work that way, because each person on this earth, they were made different for a reason. We are all unique, we are different, and there's no one person that is like the other. Regardless of how many similarities you have with somebody, you're not the same person. So, I mean, yes, it's beautiful, but it can be annoying at the same time. Okay, so I definitely understand. Now, that's a personal struggle for me, and which I definitely, on a daily basis, I have to talk to God, and which I have to pray about it, especially like with me working in the public, because like with me being like a deli manager on a daily basis, that I have to deal with certain customers. For the most part, my customers are fantastic, very nice, very sweet, and we get along. But there's those certain days where, like, those customers are just complete jerks. I mean, you know the saying, there's a few bad apples that ruin it for the whole bunch. Yes, there's those days that there's bad apples that ruin it for everybody, and it sucks because sometimes, which I know you guys struggle with this too. Sometimes I let a couple bad experiences with people ruin my whole day, and I let it get in the way of me being the best version of myself for others that truly deserve it. So I mean, that's something that I need to work on, and recognizing, like, okay, hey, that I can't really control others with like the words or their actions. So basically, the approach that I'm trying to take with this personally is thinking to myself, maybe this person is in a bad mood due to what's going on. I mean, maybe they're going through struggles at work. Maybe they're going through struggles at home. Maybe they're going through like a divorce. Maybe they're fighting with their brother or sister. Maybe like their kids are acting up. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that could be a reason to why people are not in such great moods. So I mean, which like the Bible says to us, be quick to listen and be slow to anger, because by listening, it makes for better understanding and wisdom. So that's why God gave us only one mouth, and He gave us 2 ears. That's because He wants us to listen twice as much as He wants us to talk. Because sometimes listening is more powerful than talking. Because some people just like to talk just to hear themselves speak. And which have you guys ever heard the saying, just to speak, just to hear yourself talk? When in fact you could talk for hours, or you could talk for days, but say nothing at all. That's the case with like a lot of people, where they think just because they're saying something that it adds value, and that it enhances the people that they are around, when in fact 9 times out of 10 people tend to just listen to you. I mean, not you guys in particular, but people tend to listen to those who just talk for the sake of talking. They just tend to listen to them, so just to tolerate them out of courtesy. So don't be that person that's just talking just to hear yourself speak, thinking you got something important to say. Think before you speak in certain cases. Because normally people that don't speak a lot, whenever they do talk, it's more powerful, it's more impactful, and normally it's more important. So, with that said, another reason why people struggle to let go, it's because of toxic relationships, okay? Now, like, you're thinking to yourself, toxic relationships, what does that have to do with anything? Okay, when it comes like to letting go, like with toxic relationships, people have a tendency to justify bad behavior and think to themselves, okay, well, yeah, my boyfriend did this, and my boyfriend did that, my girlfriend did this, my girlfriend did that, wife, husband, on and on and on. And when in fact there's a point where, in like certain cases, where it's very, very, very obvious where two people aren't meant for being together, and which everybody could see it, with the exception of the two people that are in it. Which like in those cases, normally something that I've observed is that whenever those two people eventually get out of that toxic relationship, it normally leads to a lot of issues with the next person that they're with. And it's crazy because, like, the Bible speaks of fathers and sons. Oh wait, hold on. Sons paying for the sins of the father. Okay. In this case, whether it's blatantly or whether it's subconsciously, 9 times out of 10, if you're with somebody that has come out of a very bad relationship, you're normally going to pay for the sins of that person. And it's not necessarily your fault, and it's not that person's fault, but it's normally they are so used to that toxic environment that, mentally speaking, their brains are conditioned within like a certain way. So it normally takes a good bit of time for that person to get out of like those negative habits due to those past relationships, letting go. So, I mean, that's another example. And a big thing that, like, a lot of people struggle with is especially with things like social media, especially things with like TV, social media, with like the news. I mean, with the way that the world is trying to tell you how to dress, walk, talk, speak, just the world is basically trying to feed and give you like a bill of goods, because on like a daily basis you're seeing these commercials, you're seeing these programs of people, like the 1% of people in the world that are on television, that like the guy on the street, they don't look like you, but their world, they are trying to tell you that unless you follow these trends, unless you look this way, or unless you act that way, that you're not good enough. Which I tell those people that struggle with that on a daily basis, that you are beautiful, you are a wonderful person, and don't you let no one tell you that because you're different and you're unique, that you're no good, because you are wonderful and you are beautifully made by God. So don't let the 1% of the world that freaking controls the media and that freaking controls Facebook and Twitter and all that crap, don't let them tell you that you should be this way. Don't torture yourself and don't hurt yourself trying to reach something that is fake, something that is unattainable. And don't let no one shame you into being something that you're not. Okay? Because honestly, that's what I struggled with. And that's like what I talked about last week back in high school. Is that I tried my best to fit in and be cool and like try to dress a certain way, speak a certain way, freaking act a certain way, join the baseball team thinking, oh yeah, that'll get me popular, that'll get me girls and everything else. And then I quickly realized, after about my first 2 years of high school doing it, this ain't working for me, and I'm miserable. I'm depressed, and that led to my first suicide attempt. So, people, let me let you know that it's not, life's too short for you not to be who God made you to be. So, trying to reach unrealistic expectations when it comes to things like that, just let it go. Just let it go. Be proud of who you are. Whether you're fat, short, tall, skinny, black, white, Mexican, freaking Chinese, freaking Indian, I mean, whatever you are, don't let no one tell you that you're not beautiful. Don't let no one tell you that you're not special, because you are. And you are the way that you are meant to be for a reason. So, and that kind of reminds me of, there's a song by DC Talk, and called "Colored People," and one of like the lines, it's talking about how we are like one giant skin kaleidoscope, and that's the way God wants it, and because there's beauty like within our differences, and we all need to embrace that, and we need to shun what the secular world wants us to be. The secular world wants us to be basically like robots. They want us to conform to a certain way of things. That way they can control us, and that way they can use us, and that way they can basically step on our carcasses to get their agendas out, which ultimately what it boils down to is that they want to break you down so badly. That way you surrender to their ways, you conform to their ways, and they take your individuality, they take your heart, they take your money, and sometimes they take your soul. And please, people that are trapped in that way right now, just let it go. Let it go and let God. Let God take over that part of your life. Let God know, like, hey, that I'm struggling because I care so much about what the wrong people think. But I care so little about the ones that care greatly about me. Which honestly, like right now, it's extremely frustrating because I'm dealing like with that something personally in my life, because my brother-in-law Adam, which it's been this way for like the past 9 years since I've been married to my wife, and that is, whenever it comes to me, my wife, and like the rest of the family, he treats us like crap, because he takes for granted the fact that we are here and that we have been footing the bill the whole entire time, and he thinks, well, regardless of how I treat them, that they're going to be here anyways. So he tends to treat random strangers, people that he barely even knows, better than us. And that's something that I struggle with letting go, because I feel like it's a slap in the face. But I recognize that I need to be the bigger person, and that I need to recognize that, yes, it's a frustrating situation, but God's going to reward me, and God has rewarded me, and God continues to reward me for looking the other way and for turning the other cheek. So, another thing, I mean, is when it comes to examples of things that we need to let go, is we need to let go of past disappointments, okay? A lot of people have a tendency to, what's the word? They have a tendency to harp, they have a tendency to quarrel, they have a tendency to look back in their past and think, what if things would have gone this way? What if things would have gone that way? and they look back and they think that they are defined by their past actions or past failures, which I'm here to let everybody know. That's the beauty of waking up every single day, is that every single day, God's basically letting you hit the reset button. And God's saying to you, hey, regardless of your past disappointments, it doesn't matter, because today is a brand new beginning and a brand new opportunity for you to be the best version of yourself that I've made you to be. And that's what God does to us every single day. That's why we leave the past in the past, the future in the future, and that's why we call the present, because it's a gift. So to everybody out there, please recognize and please think to yourself that you are not to be defined by your past failures. Use them. Don't forget them, but use them as lessons of things that you can use to not do, or things that can strengthen you. That way, whenever you do start succeeding and going in the right direction, you can use that as a way to empower yourself, thinking, well, yes, I was here, but look where I'm at now, and by God, I'm proud, and through God, yes, I'm proud. So use your past disappointments as a way to get closer to God. Use them as lessons, and use them as a way to strengthen you and to help you move forward. Don't let them hold you back. Just let it go and let God. Another example of something that people struggle with when it comes to letting go is grudges. Okay, grudges. When it comes to grudges, people just letting people hold power over you over certain issues. Because I know for me personally, I have a grudge with my grandfather. Okay, my main grudge with my grandfather is the fact that he molested my mother growing up, and that due to that led my mother going down the path she did in her life. Okay, and for anyone that tells me that you can't stump or stun mental growth, that is a bold-faced lie, because right there, my mother's growth, her mental growth, was stunned after this stuff happened. Yes, I did love my mother to death. She was a fantastic woman that did amazing things for me. And which, if it wasn't for her, then I wouldn't be the man that I am today. But by my grandfather taking her innocence away and making her grow up fairly quickly, guess what? My mother had her childhood robbed from her. So she tried to spend the rest of her life, while juggling being a parent and being an adult, she tried and struggled for the rest of her life trying to find a sense of normalcy that she never got, because that foundation that was supposed to be laid as a child was taken from her. And which I hold my grandfather responsible for that. And yes, I am a man of God, but I'll be lying to you if I said that I don't have any issues with people that I still haven't forgiven them over. Will I forgive him one day? Probably. But it's a slow process. My grandfather, he claims he's found the Lord. He claims he's changed. The God honest truth is that I haven't seen the man in years, so I can't vouch for that. All I can do is go by what my mother told me. So yeah. And speaking of other grudges, like my wife, due to her past relationship with her last boyfriend, before me, my son's biological father, James, my wife, she holds a grudge with him due to the physical abuse and due to him not being the father that he was supposed to be. And which, like, she says to me on like a damn near weekly basis, why the hell can't he just get it? And why can't he just grow up? And why did he have to do what he did? And which I tell her, sweetie, I mean, we can't really, we don't know the answer. But by you harping on that and by you being angry over it, guess what? You're going to let him hold power over you. And like, you're going to let that get in the way of where you need to be in life. Because like I tell her, instead of focusing on like the negatives with him, like with him being like a crappy father, focus on the positives. Thanks to him being a piece of shit dad, that led to me coming into the picture and little James, him getting the best father possible with me. So that's a great example of God using a negative and turning it into a positive. So those are two examples of things that me and my wife, we need to let go and let God take over. So guys, don't think because I'm speaking to you that I get it all figured out, because that's the furthest thing from the truth, because I'm not perfect by no means, and yes, I do struggle with anger issues, yes, I do struggle with getting over things. So don't think because I'm speaking to you that I'm better than you. No. That's why we need God, is because we are complete screw-ups. We're not perfect by no means, and we need to wake up on a daily basis and recognize, hey, God gave us the model for us to follow, which was Jesus Christ, the only perfect human being to ever walk the earth. And through his example, no, we're not going to be perfect, but through his example, we should use it as a way for us to improve our lives on a daily basis. And like with grudges, relationships, self-image issues, all that stuff, letting it go and letting God. So, there's a verse, there's a couple verses that I would like to read for you guys that I hope can help you with encouraging you to let go. Let go of the negative things in your life. Let go of things that are holding you back from reaching the fullest potential in your life. And let go of the things that you know are holding you back from where God wants you to be in life. And the first verse is from Mark 11:24. Whatever you ask when you pray, believe that you will receive it. Well, receive it, and you shall have it. And that's the God honest truth right there. As long as you're faithful, regardless of circumstance, which I can speak from personal experience, which I've said this 100 times on this podcast before. As long as you're faithful, regardless of circumstance, God will give you whatever you want within reason by giving you opportunity to get it, as long as it's within His will. So, let's say you pray for God to give you a Bentley. Let's be honest here. That's probably not going to happen. But if you pray and say, hey, God, here's like a random example. And say, hey, God, my car's broke down, and it needs... We need like a new one. God, please give me the opportunity for me to get like a new car. Guess what? 9 times out of 10, God's gonna give you that opportunity. Because let's say you're working somewhere. Normally, as long as you're sincerely praying, God's gonna be like, okay, cool, let me take care of him. And normally, you're gonna get those opportunities for more like work hours, leading to getting what you need to get, because God will open up those doors for you. And which, like, another example is that, which like I know for me is that on a monthly basis, me and my wife, we are worried sick about paying rent. Wait, hold on. Let me take that back. My wife isn't, she's not worried, but I am. And God's constantly telling me, hey, you don't need to worry because I'm going to take care of you. And like normally, I mean, there's times where like we're thinking to ourselves, where's the money going to come from? Where's the money going to come from? And normally it shows up. Because God does give us that opportunity. Which, guys, if I'm repeating certain things from last week, that's because these two subject matters, they're so closely related that some of these stories, they will kind of overlap each other. So like, just bear with me on this. So which like another which like some other verses that I would like to read from you. One is from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you, and plans to give you hope and a future. And that goes back to what I was just saying. God's not here to hurt you. God's not here to harm you. God is here to prosper you. And all it takes is for you to be faithful. And all it takes is for you to follow him. And letting go of the promises of this fickle, fake world that quite frankly, this secular world that quite frankly doesn't give a crap about you. Because honestly, God will reward you beyond your wildest dreams. God will give you the opportunity for you to have a life beyond your wildest imagination. And which I promise you, as long as you're faithful, you will be rewarded handsomely. And another verse is John 8:32. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. The good part about it is that not only will you be rewarded with opportunity when it comes to things like finances, when it comes to things like meeting people in relationships, but you will be rewarded by being brought closer to God, and through that you gain wisdom. Okay, through that wisdom, you become a better overall person. Because I know for me personally, from the age of 16 until 30 right now, that I'm like a completely different person, and like you're thinking to yourself, well, Chris, you went from a teenager to like a full-grown adult. That's obvious. Well, yes, that is true, but just to let you guys know that I know like a lot of people that are my age that haven't really, I mean, yes, like they're physically their age, but like mentally, they're still stuck in a in as like a teen where they think that they can live life by their own rules and they can do what they want, and like they don't want to take responsibility for anything. And which I tell people, like the closer you come to God, like the more wisdom you gain, the more you become aware of things in life. Like the more things you realize, and that's not only for the benefit of yourself, but it's for the benefit of others around you. Because honestly, like if it wasn't for me finding God, do you guys think that I would be able to bless people with like the stories that I have? No. Do you guys think that I would have the courage to go out and speak like I do? No. Do you guys think that I would have the work work ethic that I have, knowing that I have to do whatever it takes to take care of my family, whether it's cleaning toilets, whether it's working in the deli, digging ditches, doing dishes? It doesn't matter. God teaches you to humble yourself. And through that, you gain that through wisdom. You gain that through experience, and you gain that through letting go of childish things and letting Him take over. So, yeah. Another verse that I would like to say is that it's from Proverbs 28:13. Whoever conceals their sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy. Meaning, like I said earlier, you can choose to follow the world and be fake and live this shallow, meaningless life that the world has for you. Or you can prosper in many, many ways. Not necessarily financially, because that's not a guarantee. You will get your needs met. You'll make enough money to pay your bills. But God's never promised the financial success like that on earth. And it drives me nuts, okay? This is a little bit off topic, but like the one thing that grinds my gears is with people like Joel Osteen. Those prosperity preachers like that tell you that as long as you're like a positive, happy person, and like as long as you donate to my ministry, that you will become like a millionaire and crap like that. Guess what? The Jesus that I worship was broke. The Jesus that I worship was homeless. and went from place to place to place. He never meant for his representatives to live in mansions and frickin' $15 million mansions like Joel Osteen lives in. He says for us to let the worldly possessions, to let them go and to follow him. And guess what? You can't worship God and money at the same time. Why do you think there's not so many Christians in Hollywood? Why do you think there's not so many Christians in things like music? Or the ones that are Christians, they're not as famous. It's because the secular world doesn't want the agenda of Christ to be followed through with. Because they can't let go of the fact that they worship money. And they think that money will make them whole. But guess what? We purposely have that void. That God-sized void in our hearts. That only God could fill. Not money, not drugs, not sex, boyfriends, girlfriends, wives, husbands. Nobody or nothing can fill it but God. The sooner we let go of that fact, the better off we are. So, Proverbs 29:11. Fools give full vent to their rages, but the wise bring calm in the end. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. That's why God, He has given us one mouth, and God's given us 2 ears. Because He would rather us listen than talk. Because through listening, you gain wisdom. And through wisdom, you can benefit the world around you. So, yes. Psalms 46:10. God says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations, as well the earth." We must wake up every single morning and recognize that we don't have control. We can't even control our bowel movements. We can't even control whether we have a headache or not. We can't even control, just our basic body functions. We can't really control. So what makes you think that you can control anything else in the world if you can't even really control yourself? That's where God comes in. And He encourages us to wake up every single morning and recognize Him and say, hey, be still, lift up all your worries, lift up all your stressful things, your stressful situations, everything. Just lift them up and give them to me. And know that I'm God, and know that I love you, and know that I'm willing to go to bat for you, just like my son did when I sent him here, so he can die on the cross for you. That way you didn't have to go through it. Jesus was the substitute for us. And God, He could have very easily said, well, you humans, my children, you guys screwed up really, really bad. So guess what? Sorry, but we're gonna, you guys are going to just live, die, and that's it. No. He let that go. And He let His Son be sacrificed for us. That way, we could live forever through Him and through His Son. And it's crazy to think that if God would have just let it go, in a negative way, we wouldn't have the promise of eternal life like we do. It's crazy to think about. So just, guys, like, you just think about it. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing with letting it go. Letting it go for the benefit of yourself and your loved ones. Let it go and let God. God, it's a beautiful thing. It is. And, hold on a second. There's something that I found on a website called ibelieve.com. It was a blogger by the name of Lauren Gaskell, and she wrote something that really makes sense, and like that really goes with what I'm talking about with letting go and letting God take over. And once again, this is Lauren Gaskell from ibelieve.com, and I quote, "I am convinced that learning to let go and let God have His way in our lives is the best thing, for we can do, for we owe it to ourselves if we believe, as it says in Colossians 1:17, that God is before all things, and in Him all things hold together, then we can trust and know He has everything under control. We don't have to hold our cups tightly and fill them with a toxic sludge that is held by our own fears or desires. Instead, we can hand our cup over to the One who formed us and can fill us with His love, grace, mercy, and understanding. We need to stop striving and start abiding. We don't have to strive to make our lives turn out a certain way. We just have to abide by Him. Meaning, no, it's not wrong like to set goals, and no, it's not wrong to like work towards something, but have you ever thought to yourself, is what I'm working for really does it really matter? Meaning, okay, like, let's say like you're working for like a brand new $40,000 vehicle, okay? And you're thinking to yourself, awesome, yes, I'm working all these hours and doing this and doing that and da-da-da. Have you ever thought to yourself, wait a second, there's the same exact car that's a few years older and it runs just the same, and it's half the price. Is it really worth me wasting all this time for something that's eventually going to rust up and just break down, and like sooner or later that I'm going to want something newer, bigger, and better? You need to think to yourself, how wisely am I investing my time? What am I investing my time on? And who am I investing my time with? Is it worth it? Is what I'm working for, goal-wise, worth it? or will it lead you to wanting more and still feeling empty? Because those material things that you're working for, you're going to get bored of them eventually. So, I mean, when it comes to things like finances and money and stuff, choose to not spoil yourself. I mean, yes, it's human nature. We can spoil ourselves. But if you have like a few extra bucks, instead of things like you focusing on buying like a brand new car so you can keep up with the Joneses, why not like invest in things? Let's say you have children. Why don't you like invest in things like a college fund for them? Why don't you put like a down payment on like a house, or make more payments for the house that you have, or rent? I mean, there's so many other things that you could put your time and energy for that can benefit others. Focus less on your desires and focus on the desire of others, because we are here not for ourselves, but for God, and for us to serve God's children, which is our brothers and sisters. So, alright. And one of like the best things to do is whenever like you're holding something inside, just confess it. You'll feel better. Trust me. It will. And you just need to you just need to confess and surrender your need for control. Like I said earlier, because I struggle with it. Recognize and wake up on a daily basis knowing that you do not have control over jack squat. The sooner you recognize that, the better off you are. Yes, I battle with that every single day. A lot of you struggle with that on a daily basis. We are on the same page. But we can hold each other accountable when it comes like to recognizing that we are not in control in the grand scheme of things. So, yes. And be still and know that you can trust God. He's the one that will never fail you. He's the one that will never disappoint you. And which I know there's a lot of you out there thinking to yourself, well, this happened to me and that happened to me, and if God was real and if God loved me, this wouldn't have happened. Well, guess what? Like the God honest truth, which I'm going to drop like a bombshell on you guys, which yes, I do respect the fact if you don't believe, okay? Because I'm not here to crap on you. But I'm telling you from being a former atheist that 100% of the time when something bad happens, that it's a human's fault, not God. Okay? Because God gives us something called free will. What we choose to do with it, that's on us. So don't blame God for what people choose to do. When it comes to things like the popes, when it comes to things like the freaking, like the money preachers and stuff like that, yes, those are people that I feel that should be held accountable. For example, when it comes to those priests that are screwing around like with those little kids, this is one thing that God's going to have to work on me with. I'm a firm believer that those men should be punished in a swift and a very just way, and where that's not just a slap on the wrist, but they realize what they have done and that they feel some sort of pain from it, because they took because they have harmed so many children that it's disgusting, that it has forever stained like the Catholic Church, and it's sad because the Pope, many of the popes, just sweep it under the rug, because like the God honest truth is, especially with like the Catholic Church, which just got like a couple $1 billion for a building. It's downright disgusting, because I highly doubt all of that is going to go towards feeding starving children, helping people get off the street. No, that's going to just go more to benefit the greedy people up in Vatican City. And sorry that I'm saying all this stuff, but that's something else that I need to work on. And whenever it comes to things, like I said earlier, with people like Joel Osteen, you can't worship money and love God at the same time, and you can't speak about one part, the good parts of the Bible, like, without bringing up the bad parts, because otherwise you're just a fraud. And yes, Joel Osteen, that man is a fraud. So, guys, don't think that I'm all for, hey, that us Christians, we are the only ones that are right. And don't think that I'm passing judgment on you due to your views if you don't know God. But I promise you that it's not God's fault that there's certain things that have happened in your life. If people do hurtful things within the name of God, please recognize that is not of God. And those people are not His children. So please, I mean, yes, we are all God's children, but they are not representatives of Him. So please, to like everybody out there that does not believe in Him, please try to let that go, because I did, and it greatly benefited me, because it led me here to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which I found a wonderful church family, like in Christ United. I became a youth pastor. I met my wife, and I have 2 beautiful kids, a great job, and God gave that all to me. From somebody that used to make fun of the church and make fun of God, to somebody that sings His praises on a daily basis. Because I'm a man of faith, not a man of religion. Because I believe in not following rules, but having relationships. That's the difference between faith and religion. Alright, guys. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Or today. All depending on whenever you're listening to this. Hopefully you got something out of this, like with me speaking about letting it go and letting God take over for the betterment of your life. If you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Twitter at IamCHM911. You can also check out my past episodes on Spotify, Twitter, on Apple Podcasts, Google, Anchor, and plus on top of that, I am trying to raise money for my down payment fund for my neck and spine surgery. If you are interested in giving, go to my Twitter page. And there's a link for my Supportful page. Thank you so much, guys. I love you. Thank you to my wife, kids, Vince Russo, Vito LaGrasso, Noel LaGrasso, Mike Durband, and if I'm forgetting you, sorry, but I still love you. All right, guys. God bless and have a good night.